And we're recording. So hi everybody that's watching on YouTube. We'll go ahead to the next slide, Dylan. Okay, so I'm going to start off with like ways to stay connected with our organization. So we have Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We're definitely most active on Instagram, so I would say start there. We also have an email. It's demsucf@gmail.com. If you ever have any questions, need to get in contact with us, you can always DM us on Instagram or email us. And then that QR code is the same as the link that I sent in the chat. So if you want to join our Slack channel, that is like the group chat platform that we use. So yeah, that's the QR code to do that. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about dues tonight. So to become a dues paying member for the semester is $15, and you can Venmo or Cash App. Those are on the screen. Dues paying members have like certain perks, I guess. You can run and vote in elections and that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in getting more involved in our club, you can become a dues paying member. Also, if you're interested, if you're on the debate committee, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in a second, you'll need to be a dues paying member. So this is how you can do that as well. Okay. All right, so we're going to jump right into our current events update. It's going to be myself, Dylan, and Matthew doing that. I think that Dylan is first. Yeah.
Yes, hello. For those who don't know me, my name is Dylan. I am the Vice President of College Democrats at UCF. And yeah, here are just a couple updates at the federal level. So the first, big one is that the American Rescue Plan was signed into law. That rescue plan includes $1,400 stimulus checks, extends unemployment benefits until September. It has education funding for school reopening and safety, and both COVID and housing funding, among a whole plethora of other things that it does. Generally, it's a pretty monumental win. Was not everything that we would have hoped for, particularly because there are some Democrats that will not be named that decided to become Republican. But all in all, still a major success. And we just have to keep pushing harder. So the other probably major news that happened yesterday was that Congresswoman Deb Haaland has been confirmed as the Secretary of the Interior. She will be the first Native American cabinet secretary, period, as well as she will be leading a department that 100 years ago was trying to exterminate Native Americans in the United States. So that really is a monumental achievement and victory, regardless of the Biden administration. Just from almost just an American perspective, it's a huge win, and thankfully, most of the Republicans that were being really stupid trying to block her failed miserably. She did get Republican support, and a bunch of Republicans also didn't show up to vote. So yeah, they own that. And then another big thing that happened recently that you'll probably see in the news more now that the American Rescue Plan is done is that the Biden administration has proposed comprehensive immigration reform in the form of the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021. That's something that they definitely have emphasized will be a priority going forward, especially because the bill does have administration backing. It remains to be seen how well it will do in Congress because Republicans have gone full psycho on immigration issues, so I don't know how that's going to look. But you can expect it will more than likely pass the House. It's the question of the Senate, and if it can get enough votes to go through. The other big thing that is coming up that more the House leaders have kind of signaled at is that Congress is potentially considering infrastructure reform as the next big issue, which would be huge because our infrastructure is really bad in the United States. It's kind of collapsing actively. So that would be a huge next step, as well as a huge job creator, et cetera. That's something where they might actually have more success because Republicans under Trump signaled that they were willing to consider infrastructure reform. They probably won't now that Biden's in office because they're going to try to pretend like they never supported it just because in spite of Biden. But it's going to be harder for them to justify that just because of the past support that they've kind of shown for it. But all in all, the Biden administration is kind of moving forward as well as congressional Democrats on a whole bunch of issues. The biggest issue remains that Republicans have decided to take their old playbook with Barack Obama and now just implement it with Joe Biden, which is to just block literally everything that's proposed, as well as right now, what we're seeing is Republicans seem more focused on Dr. Seuss and things like the Muppets than they do actually governing, which is expected because they're not actually a governing party. They are an opposition party that has no real plans for anything, and Trump's 4 years prove that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but all of this stuff, why it's so important, kind of culminates in how 2022 will go. Because historically, midterms don't go well for the incumbent party, but Republicans are being so stupid right now, to be blunt, that you never know. So a lot of these achievements, et cetera, are extremely important going forward, not just electorally, but also the country needs this stuff anyways. So that's just a couple updates. So then I'll pass it to Hannah for some more Florida specific stuff.
Yeah, so I'm going to cover more like Florida legislative updates. We are in the legislative session. It started on March 2nd and lasts for 60 days, so we're like right in the middle of it. I'm going to go over a couple like important bills and some updates, and then some that you like may not have heard of that should definitely be on your radar. The first one is Senate Bill 86, which is a Bright Futures bill. This is the bill that would limit Bright Futures funding based on major. So majors that and like fields of study that are deemed like not to lead to employment. So essentially things like arts, humanities, those sorts of majors would no longer be covered or would receive less funding for Bright Futures. Today, that passed the Education Committee on party lines, meaning that like all the Republicans voted for it and all the Democrats didn't. But given the makeup of our legislator, that means that it passed. So yeah, that is definitely not a great bill. Definitely, if you live in a district or from a district that has any Republican, like if your representatives are Republican or senator, please definitely give them a call and tell them not to support this or write them an email or whatever. This is like super detrimental to UCF students and really to college students in general in Florida. So yeah, but that's an update on that. The next one is Senate Bill 90, which has already passed two committees and is now in the Rules Committee. This is the vote by mail, like voting bill, which would make it so that vote by mail ballots can no longer be accepted through a drop box. And there's a couple other, it's just limiting like vote by mail basically. There's a couple other rules in there, but that's the big one. Another one is like increased identification requirements for vote by mail. So it's just Republicans trying to limit vote by mail, which is obviously a majority, tends to be a majority Democratic vote, so no surprises there. But that's definitely something to keep on your radar. That's a super important bill. Hopefully it won't pass, but it's getting there. So the next one is HB1, which is Ron DeSantis's anti-protest bill that has now been referred to the House calendar. That is also another really horrible bill, and it's Senate companion also. It would basically like criminalize protesting. And it's being framed as like a law and order kind of bill, but yeah, it's very terrible. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. And then the next two are both Democratic bills, so a little bit on the lighter side. House Bill 6017 and Senate Bill 558. It's called Marriages Between Persons of the Same Sex. So gay marriage is legal all throughout the United States, obviously as of a few years ago, but it is not like legally recognized in Florida. So a marriage between like a man and a woman and between like same-sex couples are not seen the same way under Florida law. So while they are able to be performed, they're really not equal. So this bill would make them equal. It's not easy to be a Democrat in the Florida legislature, but so there hasn't been a whole lot of action on this bill so far, but it's definitely like keeps me hopeful anyway. So hopefully we'll see some movement on that one. And then the last one is HB 923 and Senate Bill 300. This one's called Student Eligibility for Financial Aid. This would open government financial aid, state and federal financial aid to students who are have like DACA or TPS status. So it would allow them to access the same kind of aid that like citizen students have. So that is also a really amazing bill. Like I said, not easy to be a Democrat in Florida, but hopefully we'll see some movement on that one soon. Before we move on to our COVID update, does anybody have any questions on any of those bills or anything that Dylan said? Okay, I think that it's Matthew next.
Yeah. Yes, it is. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Matthew Log. I'm your Director of Outreach, and I'll be providing some COVID updates. So as of right now, and as of recently, we got some new vaccination guidelines. So I personally am a childcare worker. So I was very happy that when I went to Publix and I was talking to a friend of mine, he checked people in for COVID vaccine. He was like, "Hey, did you hear about the new guidelines? Because I know you work in elementary school. Technically now I can get a vaccine." So people that are childcare workers, teachers, staff, so that means people that are bus drivers, people who are basically exposed to like hundreds of kids a day, now they're actually going to be eligible to receive vaccinations, which is awesome. Furthermore, those under 65 with underlying conditions, so like asthma, um, heart ailments, and generally that are at risk of actually fatally contracting COVID-19, now they're going to be able to receive the vaccine. And President Joe Biden, he recently did an address that he declared that all Americans that are eligible will, pardon my language, all Americans eligible for vaccination by May 1st. So what he plans to do is that every single American may not necessarily receive the vaccine, but they will all be eligible for it, and they will have enough that they'll actually be able to disperse it throughout the month. And hopefully, he's also declared that by July 4th, we'll be closer to normalcy. Hopefully, by July 4th, 4th of July, we'll be able to actually spend time with our families, close proximity with each other, and whatnot. And furthermore, in Florida specifically, Governor Ron DeSantis was under fire because he was giving vaccines to upscale communities. And there's now a federal investigation that's being called because he created basically these little pop-up COVID-19 vaccination centers, but he only did it in areas where the developer actually donated to his campaign. So a little corrupt, considering the fact it was actually pretty substantial amounts. It was $25,000 and $50,000, and a total of $125,000 the developer gave to him. And conveniently, Ron DeSantis decided to put it in that neighborhood. And of course, it's an upscale voting Republican, red-leaning neighborhood. So very suspicious. Hopefully there will be an investigation they'll be going through. And I give it back to Hannah.
Yeah, before we move on from the slide, I do just want to add one thing. So in addition to childcare workers, now all faculty, staff, professors of college campuses are eligible to get vaccines at certain sites. So hopefully your professors will be getting vaccinated soon. Also, if you work for the university, if you're like an RA or anything like that, you are also eligible. So yeah, just be keeping updated with those vaccine guidelines, seeing when you or anyone that you know becomes eligible, and encouraging them to get vaccinated, because that's going to be super important for that return to normalcy. We can't really have that without widespread vaccinations. But yeah, awesome. Thank you, Matthew.
So Hannah, before we move
Next slide.
on, just to kind of elaborate a little bit on what Matt said with DeSantis. It's definitely pretty bad, like Matt said. There's more than one community where this stuff has been happening. There was another one in the Keys where I think they said 11 people within that community gave him over $5,000 each, as well as after that community got the distribution pop-up site, a former Republican governor of Illinois that has a house there donated $250,000 to his reelection campaign. So yeah, super sus. If this was Among Us, he'd be off the ship already. But then the flip side of that too is that we also already know about a specific site that was purposely designed as a PR stunt. We have texts that were leaked somewhere up in the Panhandle where Ron DeSantis had a press conference where texts were leaked between the city commission people and the DeSantis's office that indicated that some of the stuff going on in the background was entirely photo op related. It had nothing to do with the actual site itself. So regardless of any spin that you're going to continue to see on the news about how great Ron DeSantis has been, he hasn't. It's been a disaster. It continues to be, and now, like Matt said, he is on track to face some sort of federal investigation over this. And yeah, it's not looking too hot for him. But yeah, just to kind of really emphasize how awful he has been and how horrific this vaccine rollout in Florida in particular has been, because the flip side of that is these rich places are getting it, and then poorer places and predominantly minority places are not getting it to the same degree, especially when our minority communities are more vulnerable to COVID to begin with in terms of health conditions, etc. So yeah, just a complete disaster. But yeah, I'll pass it back to Hannah.
I forgot one new eligibility requirement. Obviously, anybody with underlying conditions is available, or is eligible. You just have to get a doctor's note. But also, they lowered the age to 60 and over. So if like your parents or grandparents or anything like that weren't eligible before, now anybody over 60 is eligible. So you can go to the next slide. Okay. Next, we're going to have our Women's History Month presentation by Paola, our Director of Diversity and Inclusion. So I'll pass it over to her.
Hi guys, I'm Paola. Happy Women's History Month. We use this month to celebrate what women have done for us in history. Next slide. So some important women in history. The first one I'm going to mention is Shirley Chisholm. She was not only the first African-American woman elected to the U.S. Congress, she was the first African-American and woman to run for the Democratic nomination in 1972. Before she had to enter campaign, she had 152 delegates, so not too bad for the first woman and first African-American. Second, I'm going to talk about Sonia Sotomayor. She was born to Puerto Rican parents and has served as a Supreme Court Justice since 2009. She is the first Hispanic Supreme Court Justice and the third woman to join the court. I'm going to mention now Dolores Huerta. She was born to a Mexican immigrant family in New Mexico, where she grew up surrounded by agriculture workers. She then used her organizing abilities to fight for those workers. As an American labor leader and civil rights activist, she later co-founded the National Farm Workers Association. So yeah, she's awesome. Next slide, please. Marsha P., the P stands for Pay It No Mind, Johnson, was an American gay liberation activist and drag queen. And her partner in crime was Sylvia Rivera, a transgender rights activist and noted community worker born to Puerto Rican and Venezuelan parents. Both of these women are believed to be essential to the Stonewall riots and other gay rights protests and sit-ins. And they used what they learned to later open a shelter for LGBTQ youth. And they founded STAR. STAR was an activist organization for LGBTQ, and they paid rent for the building by doing sex work at night. So they were super committed to the cause. Next slide, please. Women in pop culture. Unless you live under a rock, everyone can attest to Viola's acting skills, my favorite being How to Get Away with Murder. She is the most nominated Black actress in Oscars history. Then we have Madonna, who is the singer with the most #1 hit songs with 50 songs, and it is a record for any Billboard chart. And the only artists that are even close to her are Rihanna with 33 hit songs and Beyonce with 20 hit songs. And then, of course, Taylor Swift, who was the first female artist to win Grammy for Album of the Year 3 separate times. So yeah, and this last one was with an album that she wrote in quarantine. So yeah, that's the important woman that we are looking at today.
Okay, awesome. Before I go into these upcoming events and opportunities, we had a couple announcements, a couple people who wanted to make announcements. So first, I'm going to have John speak.
Oh, sorry, I'm on my phone. Is this working good?
Yep, you're good.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me here today. I just wanted to make a quick announcement about a petition that's going around at UCF. UCF is considering changing their textbook billing model as soon as next fall. They want to switch it to an automatic billing system, also known as opt-out, which would essentially mean when you enroll in a class that you are automatically put on a payment plan that will automatically charge you for the textbooks for that class instead of the current opt-in system. I think Hannah just linked to the petition in the chat. That is the petition. Please sign the petition. I think there is an article that details the opt-out policy from Nicholson Student Media. That's really good. They are moving fast with this policy. We want to stop this policy. We like the opt-in system where students get to choose when they want to get a textbook, not get automatically billed by a textbook publishing company. So if you know anyone else, share this petition with your friends to help stop this from coming to UCF. There's 3 class action lawsuits being placed against this policy in other universities across the country. We are trying to stop this from getting to UCF before it's too late, because where it has been adopted, it's been a disaster. So stop opt-out, sign the petition, and share with friends if you can. Share with 2 people if you can. It would really help a lot. We're more than halfway to 1,000 signatures. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming. And I did put the link to that petition in the chat. So if anybody would like to sign it or share it, there's a link there. Okay, so in terms of upcoming events, there is a climate strike being organized by Ideas for Us that's going to be taking place this Friday, the 19th, downtown. It's during the day. I believe it starts at noon, but I will clarify that. So if anybody's interested in going to that, you can go ahead and text in the Slack or in the chat. If you need a ride, we can try to set up carpooling. But yeah, those are always fun, and that's a great cause. So they're downtown by the by that, what's that government building called? Why can't I remember now? Anyway, it's right in downtown. So yeah, if you're interested in going to that, it'll be on Friday. Next we have, next week is a busy week for us, so a bunch of events in a row, but the first one is a domestic violence panel being put on by a bunch of our caucuses and our Director of Diversity and Inclusion. That's going to be next Tuesday, a week from today at 7. Then we have next Thursday, I think that date is wrong. Next Thursday is our debate with college Republicans. Let's see, which date is wrong? Okay, the domestic violence panel date. Oh no, they're right. Okay, never mind. Can't read. Okay, the next event is a Sierra Club No Roads to Ruin event. This is not being put on by us, but the Sierra Club has a coalition called No Roads to Ruin, which is trying to stop a toll road from being placed through some conservation areas. So I'm going to link the Facebook event in the chat if you're interested in attending that. It's just an info session / day of action. So if you're interested in attending that, there's the Facebook event. That's on Wednesday. Then on Thursday is our debate with college Republicans. We're very, very excited about that. It's being sponsored by Student Government. A couple of you here on the chat will be presenting or helping us do research for that. So we're very excited. It will be taking place in person, but there are very limited seats, obviously because of COVID. So it will also be broadcast on Facebook Live. So we'll send out more info about that when we have it. So keep a lookout for the Slack in the Slack channel for that sign up link. And then on Friday is a March for Our Lives event that Olivia is going to tell us a little more about.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm the Women's Caucus Chair for UCF Debs, and I'm also on the board for March for Our Lives Florida. And we're having a rally on the 26th. Sorry, it's been a long day. And it is at the Tinker Field downtown, which is downtown. And I'm actually going to put the flyer for it that we made today in the chat after I talk about it a little bit. And it's going to be a driving rally, so it's very COVID safe and everything. And we're also going to be doing some community outreach, and we're going to have free hot meals for everyone. And if you know anyone who needs, we're going to have free bags of groceries for anyone who needs it. And we're really going to be talking about how terrible this anti-protest bill is, and have a lot of speakers, and we're going to have live music and things like that to show that this is not okay and things we can do to stop this unconstitutional bill from passing. And something I wanted to mention about it is it passed 3 times in committee on party lines, of course. And every single time in the committee, there was over 60 people that were speaking out against it during the hearing. I believe one time there was one person for it, maybe 2 at the most per committee hearing, and every single time it passed. And even one time, the person who sponsored the bill, he was asked if he knew that this would negatively affect communities with people, Black and brown communities. And he says yes, but that's okay because almost every bill does that, which the fact that he actually said that blew my mind. But yeah, we all know how dangerous this bill is, and that they're trying to instill fear in us and rather than fix the problems at hand. So yeah, everyone should try to come out. I'm going to put the flyer in here now. And I think we're still accepting volunteers if you guys want to help out. And I could also drop the link in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah. Anybody who can make it out to that event, it's on Friday. Yeah, Friday, downtown. So definitely try to make it out to that. And if you guys are still accepting volunteers, that's a great opportunity for anybody. So cool, that's in the chat. The next event is a clothing drive being put on by YDSA from March 29th through the 31st. They are still looking for volunteers, and I have the sign up here. That is the sign up sheet for volunteers for that clothing drive. It is 3 days. So whatever time you have to volunteer, and they all will also be looking for donations. So please feel free to come by and bring any like clothes or anything that you have. They are also accepting like non-clothing items. I can't remember exactly what they were, but it's like feminine products, hygiene products, that sort of stuff. So yeah, there will be more info to come on that. We have a flyer, I believe, that we'll put on our story in a few days. But if you're interested in volunteering, they're definitely looking for help. So there's the form there. You don't have to volunteer for all 3 days. Any help that you guys can offer would be amazing. And then the last thing, a little bit far in advance, but the FCD Spring Convention is taking place next month from the 9th through the 11th. That is open to any College Democrats member. I'm going to drop also the link. A lot of links tonight. I'm going to drop the link to the sign up registration form in the chat. Anybody who's interested in getting more involved with FCD, I would definitely recommend going to that. Or if you just want to meet like College Democrats from other chapters across the state, it should be fun. There's a lot of, the schedule hasn't been finalized yet, but there's going to be a lot of awesome events and speakers at that. So yeah, the sign up form is there. And then lastly, for our opportunities sheet, we are updating this. It's a huge sheet with tons of job, internship, and volunteer opportunities on there. So you can go ahead and scan that QR code, or I have yet another link here to it if the QR code won't work. So yeah, it has all sorts of opportunities. It's broken down in all kinds of different levels and kind of opportunities and sectors and all of that. So it's being updated regularly. So if you're interested in doing an internship for the summer, those deadlines are coming up. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But it has opportunities on there like past summer and all of that. So definitely that's a great resource for everybody, and feel free to share that. So I think that is it for this slide. Dylan, if you want to go to the last one. Okay, so our last slide is our Stay Connected slide again. If you need to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
Hannah?
I think Hannah froze.
Yeah,
But yeah, I guess just to bounce off what she said, yes, that be sure to follow us, especially on the Instagram. That's also where if you need to reach out to us about anything, to definitely do that there. Also, we have the Twitter and the Facebook, but we also do have the email if you have any questions, or if you also have any official questions or org related stuff, be sure to use the Dems UCF email to send us stuff like that. And as we've kind of said before, and at every meeting, try to join the Slack channel if you can. We definitely highly encourage it because that's where we post a lot of these opportunities, as well as kind of reminders and just ways that you can get more engaged directly with us. So be sure to be a part of that. So I'll pass it back to Hannah. I see she's back.
Yeah, sorry, my Zoom kicked me out for a second. Before we head out, I know Matthew had wanted to make an announcement, so I want to give him a second to do that.
Hannah, I think Matthew was frozen at the time when you said that.
Oh, sorry, Matthew, if you want to go ahead and make your announcement now, you're more than welcome to. Okay, looks like he's having some like audio problems, but I know that he is going to be running for, or he is running for student body senate. So we're super excited to hopefully have some like Dems, what's what I'm looking for, representation in Senate. So definitely, I think voting closes tomorrow, the 15th through the 17th, and it's the same ballot for like student body president and vice president, and also Senate. So definitely fill that out if you're in the College of Sciences. Matthew will be on your ballot. But yeah, if anybody has any last questions or anything like that, okay, Matthew says also to write in him and Dylan. But if anybody has any other questions,
so just to bounce off quickly, and then I'll explain that in a sec, but just to bounce off the what Hannah just said, if you don't know where the ballot is, it's on your MyUCF. So literally once you log in, there's a section that says vote. It's super easy. It takes like 5 seconds. And then me and Matt are just testing whether or not
we're doing no. We're not testing it. We're doing a very serious write-in campaign. All right. That we think we're gonna shake up Washington, and we could win just by like, I don't know, just like writing our names. Let's see what happens. So please do that. I don't know. I'll give you a quick.
But anyways, yes. So be sure to, as well as we did endorse Meg and Austin, who are the presidential ticket. So we encourage you guys to vote for them if you have not done so. As well as there is one amendment on there related to, I think it's like an extra $1 of the student stuff.
Yeah, it's an extra $1 on your like student fees that will go towards green initiatives. So you can vote for that as well. Matthew, is your audio back if you want to say a few words?
Well, Matthew is here with us in spirit, and we
Yeah, we can't hear you, but definitely everybody, we would encourage you to vote for our College Dems members, and also for our endorsed candidates, Meg and Austin. If anybody has any questions about that or about anything else, yeah, we'll stick around. The board will stick around at the end of the meeting to talk to anybody. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording. Let's see.